I do believe that now is probably the best moment to be focused on the major stories in this market because of everything that is going on in the crypto space, especially the regulatory talks, actions, and even the passing of bills. Tokenization is undoubtedly the key. All right, throughout the past 30 days, tokenization has increased by 743%. RWAs totaling over 26 billion on Chain 25, at 300, that's from the CIO at Bitwise. And that figure doesn't seem right when we consider that, If you consider the value we would have if we did a 4,000x from here, it's too insane. As a point of reference, Smokedog published an excellent post about the magnitude of the entire addressable market for tokenization. We have $337 trillion in real estate. These ideals have increased a lot in the modern day. As an illustration, the figures we are using here were established in 2023. That was the size of the addressable market. These numbers have increased significantly over the past 2 years and will only continue to rise, which indicates that the overall market for tokenization is still growing. We would be at about $102 trillion or about $120 trillion if we performed a 4,000x from here. And if we're considering that, please understand that we're only scraping the surface, and that figure doesn't even represent the entire market that is listed here. Additionally, we have the tokenized RWAs down here, which are contained in utility tokens like XRP. Even though I agree that improved market access and transparency lead to the display of certain asset classes, I believe that ownership transfer is another advantage that has been overlooked in this case. Physical rights or advantages can be digitalized through tokenization and thereafter embodied in utility tokens. Together with security tokens, these utility tokens can be added to a portfolio to increase the variety of goods offered. This method allows management to do more than just monitor the investment vehicle's performance. Leveraging tokenization allows for the inclusion of actual rights or tangible advantages in the portfolio, improving management skills beyond conventional investment measurements. Additionally, XRP is a useful utility token over here. The capacity of a functional utility coin to address real-world efficiency sets it apart through blockchain technology instead of just acting as a store of value or speculative asset. Additionally, they discuss speculative assets like Dogecoin and Bitcoin down there. And you know what? Utility-based projects end up being the main force behind tokenization itself. Even now, if we look at the networks here, Ethereum is at the top, and we already know why, don't we? However, I do believe that will change in the future. However, this list contains several excellent utility-based projects. Although HVAR isn't being tracked at the moment, I would think that it's rather high up on that chart along with XDC. XRP, Algo, XLM, and XLM are all present. There are several excellent initiatives that are beginning to benefit from tokenization, and it's only just getting started, isn't that right? These networks only have roughly $14 billion or nearly $14 billion USD. It's only the beginning. Vlad Tenev also told us that tokenization is the largest breakthrough in capital markets in 10 years and that it addresses liquidity. Take a look at this. Although clients had previously been excluded from dividends, we have successfully figured out a way to expose them to it. Our goal is to provide all the advantages of cryptocurrency technology while preserving the underlying assets with the fewest potential sacrifices. Furthermore, I believe that Robinhood is rarely the pioneer in a variety of fields. We have a tendency to take the route of ensuring that others sort of do it first. And in this specific instance, I believe it is so crucial that retail has access to these businesses and assets that we saw a chance to provide a strong solution. You also said that this would be launched in the United States. Do you require a certain regulatory change to complete this? It's noteworthy to note that we do think the SEC has the power to enact tokenization in the U.S. without passing legislation. As you may have seen, SEC Chairman Adkins spoke about tokenization in an interview last week. It was a terrific innovation, he said, and we concur. Tokenization, in our opinion, is possibly the most significant development to enter the capital markets in the last 10 years. Therefore, I believe that the U.S. shouldn't lag behind. For both retail and institutions, I believe the opportunity is too great to pass up. And yes, pay attention, especially if you're a retail investor. This is just too important to overlook. I believe that simply owning these utility-based projects will generate a significant amount of revenue in the upcoming years, particularly as the market becomes more accessible to institutional players, including banks, asset management firms, governments, and more. All of this occurs as a result of regulatory discussions, actions, and the passage of legislation. I believe I recently discussed this topic in a video. The passage of those bills created history. This is accurate since those bills allowed trillions of money to enter the market. This is only the start of a far greater boom. Additionally, we currently have roughly one. There has been a lot of variation in this. We did have over 130 million recently, but as of right now, the XRP ledger only has 10 RWA assets, and that's clearly seen here. With tokenization projects, we have been seeing some very significant changes in the XRP space lately. The first one we recently saw was Control-Alt's tokenization of real estate, which we will discuss in this video. However, I do believe that the RWA value on the XRP ledger is going to rise soon, and the MPTs are to blame for it. On the XRP ledger, the multi-purpose tokens provide additional flexibility, but their use throughout the ecosystem requires structure. In order to facilitate the discovery and integration of MPTs, we are putting forth a suggested metadata standard. In fact, this thread begins with this one, if we look at it closely. Although MPTs are flexible, they don't have organized fields like currency codes. They are more difficult to recognize or show in user interfaces since they rely on a free-form metadata field instead. Fields like ticker, name, icon, description, and more are included in our suggested metadata standard. This makes MPTs easy to understand, searchable by ticker, rankable with IOUs, and usable in wallets, explorers, dexes, and user interfaces. It fills the void between usability and versatility. Adoption is encouraged but not required. Additionally, keep in mind that this is a new standard. This MPT standard is very important. Many players such as Jazzy Cooper from Ripple, for instance, have spoken about how MPTs actually make it possible for institutions to adopt tokenized assets that are on the chain because they unlock data that includes all of the information we just discussed, including the ticker, name, icon, description, and much more. This is revolutionary. Additionally, it comes at a time when Ripple is still pushing for institutional-grade adoption and collaborations with companies like Control-Alt. In order to facilitate fractional ownership, transparency, and worldwide access to Dubai's real estate market, we have partnered with Control-Alt and the Dubai Land Department to provide scalable and organized storage for the tokenized real estate title deeds issued on the XRP ledger. This is a follow-up to that initial release. As an aside, we already have funds associated with Control-Alt on the XRP ledger. In fact, we have 4 tokenized properties here, 408